Hello and welcome. I'm Sergeant First Class Ben Pattison with exclusive access here at the National Museum of the United States Army.
And I'm Sergeant Audrey Santana. And thanks for joining us for the Army at 245. For nearly 2.5 centuries, the United States Army has remained a constant throughout our nation's history. And today is another year to our nation's greatest fighting force. We also celebrate Flag Day, and we remember all the soldiers who have served throughout the generations, as well as all those serving today.
And all of those soldiers are represented by campaigns on our U.S. Army flag. Starting with the first, Lexington, 1775, now 245 years ago. These streamers span throughout our history, including both world wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the global war on terrorism. But all of these streamers tell only part of the story of our magnificent Army. They serve as a reminder of the sacrifice and service of the American soldier to the United States of America.
And to honor our country, we begin with a very special setting of our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner.
And now, a message from the 16th Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael A. Grinston.
For 245 years, we've answered the call, like these soldiers from the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment in Afghanistan in 2010, or the brave soldiers on the front lines right now, fighting a new battle against an invisible enemy, and the many selfless warriors who came before us. Having deployed overseas like so many of our soldiers, I've seen firsthand the unrivaled grit and toughness of our people. When we band together as strong, cohesive squads, we're unstoppable. We simply do not back down. Americans, your Army stands ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat. We're also here when you need us at home. From hurricanes to wildfires, and now at the forefront of a pandemic like we've never seen. Our Army's greatness is no coincidence. It's because of our people, the foundation of the force. People who come from every corner of our great nation. They represent the best of our country. This 245th birthday, I'm standing tall with more than 1 million soldiers who wear the U.S. Army tape above their heart every day. My squad and I are ready because of the millions who came before us, those who showed us what it means to be Army strong.
Aside from the Army birthday, there have been other notable milestones this past year. 75 years ago, the generation that saved the world received welcome news on what we now celebrate as VE Day. The United States and its partners in the war effort had formally accepted an unconditional surrender from the Axis, marking the end of World War II in Europe for the Allies. Over that 5-year span of the struggle overseas, nearly 50 million men registered for the draft, and 10 million were drafted to serve. Today, our Army relies on an all-volunteer force to fill over 150 jobs that make our Army the greatest on earth.
Right. And this year also marks the observance of the 70th anniversary of the start of the Korean War. When North Korean forces invaded South Korea in the summer of 1950, the United States took up arms. American service members would endure hardship in combat for 3 years, facing an uncertain end to a conflict later known as the Forgotten War. Their sacrifice established an enduring era of peace for South Korea, ensuring stability and a critical American ally in the Asia-Pacific.
And to those soldiers, thank you to the legacy you left on the world.
And for those soldiers who never returned, they are never forgotten, and we honor their sacrifice.
I, for one, keep a reminder of every soldier I have lost, so that I never forget all who gave the last full measure.
We honor each of them and our Gold Star families.
Please join us in honoring our fallen warriors.
We reserve a table for those missing, a round table for our never-ending burden. A white cloth for the purity in their hearts. A single red rose for their loved ones. A yellow ribbon for the hope of their return. A slice of lemon for a bitter fate, and a pinch of salt for their uncertainty. We light a candle as a beacon for their return, whatever that may be. We turn over a glass as a toast cannot be shared. And the chair remains empty, for they are missing, but not forgotten.
And now, here's a message from your 40th Chief of Staff of the Army, General James C. McConville.
Today is a great day to be in the United States Army. For 245 years, America's Army has protected the nation. I'm standing in the nearly complete National Museum of the United States Army. This wall behind me lists every campaign in our Army's history. What better place to recognize our past achievements and to celebrate our incredible history and heritage? Every soldier is part of America's legacy. American soldiers of all components have stood ready to answer the nation's call. Even now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the nation needed us, we were there. I'm wearing the new Army green service uniform, and every time I wear this uniform, I think about the greatest generation and their historic accomplishments. They fought all across Europe and the Pacific and endured unimaginable conditions in combat. Their brave actions played a vital role in shaping our country. I was fortunate enough to be in Normandy for the 70th anniversary and meet one of the heroes of that generation, Jim Pee Wee Martin. It was there at the 70th anniversary of D-Day that Jim jumped back into Normandy at 93 years of age. Jim joined the famous 506th Infantry Regiment, the Band of Brothers, in July of 1942. He was soon given the name Pee Wee because he was the lightest man in the regiment, which he accepted as a badge of respect. He was just 23 years old when he jumped into Normandy with the 101st Airborne Division on D-Day. He fought all across Europe, stood strong at Bastogne. He was in Bavaria on May 8, 1945. So this year, he not only recognized the 75th VE Day, but he also celebrated his 99th birthday. I share Jim's story as an example of the great legacy of service and sacrifice of the American soldier, one secured by the sweat and blood of American soldiers for 245 years. He is an amazing living legacy for our greatest generation of today. It's a legacy our soldiers forged in World War II. It's a legacy carried on by our soldiers in Korea and Vietnam, in Just Cause, in Desert Storm, and more recently in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. It's a legacy we've been entrusted to carry on to future generations. Thank you to our soldiers, families, and civilians, past and present, for keeping the Army legacy. Happy birthday, Army. We remain Army strong.
We serve to protect our nation, our way of life. Army soldiers, Army families, Army civilians, each answers the call to serve. A call to do more, to be more, to defend America, to join the Army team. They answered that call when America needed her strongest. At a moment's notice, America's best are always there.
Our nation is threatened by this invisible enemy, this virus, and we will defeat it.
We're the ones who respond to SARS, Ebola, and the U.S. Army is built for this.
This is when America really needs to rally to be able to come together.
Continuing turning wrenches throughout the night. We understand that we have a mission still, and unit readiness is still a top priority.
This uniform means hope. It means hope that when the United States Army, active, guard, or reserve show up, that my situation in the United States is going to get better.
The whole team's come together to kill the virus.
Our finest jump, roll, or march into action. Ready to face the uncertainties of battle. Prepared to sacrifice it all, not just for themselves. The call is much greater than that. We honor the legacies, the sacrifices of all who have come before us, and we all rest easy knowing our soldiers will continue to answer the call.
We sacrifice, we bleed, and we are willing to die for this unique creation, the United States of America.
Representing over 1.4 million soldiers, civilians, and families, this is your 24th Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Ryan D. McCarthy.
Happy 245th birthday to America's Army. I recently visited the National Museum of the United States Army, whose doors will soon be open to the public. And let me just say, the opening is definitely worth the wait. It will be a place where the young and the old can observe a part of the nation's history, commemorating the ordinary men and women who achieved the extraordinary. In these walls lie the stories and relics that bear witness to securing freedom. And the Army's legacy continues to be written today. Through these halls, there are no shortages of heroes, hailing from every walk of life and from every corner of the nation. Whatever the need, the Army has responded. They're rendering aid during humanitarian disasters, liberating nations against adversaries on foreign soil, working with our allies and partners shoulder to shoulder.
From the Revolutionary War through the present day, brave Americans have stepped forward, risking their lives to defend our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
When we put on this uniform, we remember those who came before us and know that America will always be a nation worth fighting for. America's Army.
When we are needed,
we are there.
Of course, it wouldn't be a celebration without the cake. Thanks again for joining us, and
Happy birthday, Army!
With Hi, this is Coach Mike Krzyzewski, and happy birthday. Happy 245th birthday to the U.S. Army. Wow, you all are the best team in the world. I've been part of your team. I went to the United States Military Academy and served 5 years and resigned as a captain in the field artillery. But you know what? I've always been on the Army team. Even when I was U.S. coach, we incorporated the United States Army with our U.S. basketball team so that we would understand the meaning of selfless service. Wow. Selfless service is what you are all about. And that's what you've been about for over 2 centuries.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. Oh, I will rescue you.
Happy birthday, America's Army. I'm honored to help mark 245 years of men and women bravely defending our great nation. I remember becoming part of the Long Gray Line at age 18. It was this California boy's first trip inside the United States, east of the Mississippi. Like all who sign up, I wanted to serve my country. To this day, soldier is the best title I've ever had. I'll never forget what I learned in uniform. That was true when I took my first oath to defend the Constitution as a cadet, and it's still true today, 6 oaths later. So, from a proud veteran, happy 245th. Here's to many more years of duty, honor, courage, and service to the greatest nation in the history of the world. Go Army, and God bless you all.
Happy birthday, America's Army. As Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a U.S. Army officer for the past 40 years, I am proud to celebrate the 245th year of the world's greatest Army. Since the very beginning, as a rabble in arms led by George Washington at the dawn of this country, our Army has served this nation in war and peace with distinction as a beacon of freedom. 2.5 centuries later, the 1.2 million men and women of the United States Army, in uniform and civilian, serving around the globe today, embody the rich legacy of those who came before us. As a keystone of the Joint Force, your efforts around the world have secured our national interests and deterred great power war for more than 7 decades. When the Army is needed, we are there. Thank you for your service and what you do for our great nation. Happy birthday, U.S. Army. Army strong.
What a privilege to be able to wish the Army 245 strong years. What a privilege it was to be in service for 29 years with my fellow colleagues, my active duty soldiers, my reservists, and my retirees. Congratulations to all of you. Such a privilege to have been part of the military. It has served me through my entire career, and I just want to congratulate the Army again on 245 incredibly strong years. It's been a privilege to serve with each and every one of you.